Really interesting fight coming up this weekend at 135 pounds. We have the former title challenger Alexis Davis taking her talents to 135, and I should say that her last fight was against a flyweight, but it was up at 135. She took on Sabina Mazo. And Matt, I threw all of the red flags out there ahead of that fight. Alexis Davis, what does she do? Gritty performances, always wins second rounds, and has only lost in that win streak to top-level competition at 125. And what did she do? She kind of schooled Sabina Mazo.
Okay. Yes and no. Here's the thing. I just don't think Sabina Mazo was that great to begin with. Here's the thing. I feel like a lot of people are going to look at that last fight with Alexis Davis and put a ton of stock into it because she did beat a good prospect. But, and for all the reasons that you appropriately brought up, it was always just a really bad matchup for Mazo. So I feel like a lot of people are going to be more confident in Alexis Davis this weekend than they probably should be.
Now, if you do look at Alexis Davis, and I broke it down again, if you want to check out that video, I'll pop it right up there. You can check it out. But the fact that Alexis Davis, in that 3-fight skid that she did have, and it was over a long period of time, Caitlin Chukagian, Jennifer Maia, and Viviane Araújo, loses the first round in every fight. And the trouble with Alexis Davis is the fact that she has, 30 pro fights? And if you punch her just once in the face in the first round, it goes the shade of red of one of those sound tiles. And then she'll start to bleed a little bit. And listen, I know Anthony Kiedis is a big MMA fan, but the scar tissue that you wish you saw, well, it's in Alexis Davis fights. We see it in the first round. She gets a little bloodied up, and then she kind of gets into the fight. She'll win a second round. She did it in all of those fights, and then she might lose a third round. Now, again, against Mazo, looked really good. So let's focus on Pannie Kianzad. This is somebody that's been on a lot of people's radars, even before The Ultimate Fighter Season 28. She ends up losing in the finals to Macy Chasson at a Fortis MMA. So what does Kianzad do? Well, she doesn't take another UFC fight. She goes, fights on the regional scene in Sweden against the French fighter Ioni Razafarzen, gets the win there, then comes into the UFC. And what has she done since? Well, has it been the highest level competition? I don't know. I mean, she did end up coming back and losing to Julia Avila in a decision. And listen, Avila looked great in that one. But then she rattles off wins over Jessica Rose Clark, Rowdy Betch, and then she gets a big win over Sijara Eubanks. And I get it. It was a 29-28. Eubanks able to kind of get in there and make it scrappy. But for Kianzad, takedown defense was relatively on point, and it was those long distance strikes she was able to use. Now, in my mind's eye, I have to say, I think of Pannie Kianzad as like a really, really tall, long fighter. She's going to be at a disadvantage in some of those areas in this fight. That's what makes it all the more interesting. It's really the skill and the overall career and the durability of Alexis Davis and the soaring phoenix that is Banzai Kianzad.
I don't know if I'm that excited for this fight, but this is interesting because for Alexis Davis, you've reached the top of the mountain. You did it. You weren't champ, but you at least got to the title shot, which is something that most UFC fighters will never get the chance to do. And then she had her UFC career. Like, you know what I mean? Most people is, okay, I've had my UFC career, then I get to that top, and then, I might have a few more fights, I'm either champ, whatever, and then I'm done. Alexis Davis really, she's had two different careers. She had her career up until that point, and then she's kind of had this second little sort of MMA legend career part, if you will. And it's really weird for Alexis Davis because it felt like she was one of those fighters who, I can't fight at 115. I'm not big enough for 135, but there was an 125-pound division around. So her, very similar to like Jessica I know was very vocal about it once they made the 125-pound division that, oh, finally, there's a place for me. And I thought that's where Alexis Davis was going to be for the majority of her career. But sometimes the grass isn't always greener on the other side. And that's what we found out when Davis did make that move down. And for me, you bring up the level of competition. I do think the weight cut was just hard on her to get down to 125 pounds, especially at this stage of her career. It's not like she's a fighter who's only, 29, 30. She is quite a bit older, and that does concern me even up in this fight against Pannie Kianzad, because the one thing about Alexis Davis is her game hasn't really evolved. There's some fighters who every time, they've added this wrinkle to their game or that wrinkle to their game. Alexis Davis still is, I would say, sort of a basic Muay Thai fighter with decent pressure and okay clinch game. Like, it's not like she's bad on the ground. Don't get me wrong.
Great in top control.
Lacks the wrestling against top-level 135ers, I should say, to really get anyone down to the ground, though. And that's what really concerns me about Alexis Davis in this fight. I think she can strike with Pannie Kianzad for certain moments in this fight. I just don't think she's going to be able to go in there and have a kickboxing fight with Kianzad for 15 minutes and not get pieced up. Because like you said, she doesn't show damage very well. She's not a fighter like Frank Camacho, who the durability's gone away. Alexis Davis is still a very durable fighter, but the damage does start to show on her, very similar to a Nate Diaz, for instance, or even Lauren Murphy, who we'll be talking about later on this card as well. With Kianzad, I do think that if she can just keep this fight at range, use your jab a lot, and the fact that Alexis Davis, she just like to throw the leg kick of her own, so she's going to be happy at standing at range with Kianzad. I just think that's the range that Kianzad is going to have the most success in.
Yeah, I mean, Port Colborne's going to have to watch this fight with bated breath, because you have a look at the odds in this one. I mean, Kianzad, relatively, I'd say, heavily favored. I mean, moderately favored, if you will, but she opened a minus 235. She's minus 217 right now. Davis opened a plus 200. She's at a plus 175 right now, and if we have a look at the Tapology predictions, surprised me as it is to you, maybe not so much, but 898 total votes, 82% Kianzad, 92% by decision for the 18% that have Davis, 79% by decision. I think the safe one would be fight goes the distance, and it's not just based on those, but again, you look at it for Pannie Kianzad in the fights back in the UFC. Decision Rose Clark, decision Correa, decision against Eubanks. She lost a decision to Avila, and she finished Ione Razafarzin over on the regional scene. And for Davis, out of her last 5, Carmouche, Chukagian, Maya, Arujao, and then Mazao, all by decision. I think that's a safe one to go with. For me, though, again, I will side with Arte Suave's own Pannie Kianzad in this fight.
Yeah, I like Kianzad quite a bit in this fight. It's for Alexis Davis. I know what I'm going to get from her, and I just don't think it's going to be enough to beat Pannie Kianzad. I don't like the fact that, again, her range with that leg kick is going to keep her in range of all those strikes of Kianzad. I'm not saying Kianzad's going to go on some run and challenge Amanda one day, but I do think she has a decent ceiling in this division as well, but I am excited for this fight.
I mean, crazier things have happened. You talk about challenging Amanda. Alexis Davis finished her years ago, but both of us going with Sweden's Pannie Kianzad to get the win. Absolutely love the fight. Flyweight gold on the line. You got middleweight gold on the line. You got Pride at 170 pounds in a 5-rounder. So, Matt, you're not going to want to miss this action coming up this weekend. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, as we always say. Let's get into it.